So think about this for a second. How does something that helps us grow food and literally build our cities turn into a weapon of mass destruction on just a totally normal evening? It sounds impossible, right? Well, today we're going to break down the anatomy of the Delhi bombing. It's a story that starts with a huge explosion, but it ends with a question that's honestly pretty unsettling.
And it all starts with the brutal, undeniable facts. You've got a car bomb right near a historic landmark. And just like that, a dozen lives are gone. This one line from the Times of India just hits you, It captures the raw shock of what happened right in the heart of the capital. Picture it, 6:52 p.m. People are on their evening commute, maybe running errands, just heading home. Normal life. And then in a split second, all of that is just gone, shattered. So for the investigators showing up to that scene, wading through all the chaos, one question is just screaming at them. What did they use to do this? What was the weapon?
And when the forensic team sifted through all the debris, they found the answer. And get this, it wasn't some fancy military-grade explosive. Nope, it was something way more common, something known to both investigators and industry as ANFO.
Okay, so what in the world is ANFO? Let's get into the science behind this stuff, because it's deceptively simple and incredibly powerful.
Right, so ANFO is just an acronym. It stands for ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. And it's not some new secret thing. It's actually been the go-to, the workhorse for industrial explosives since like the 1950s. Why? Because it's powerful and it's cheap.
The recipe is, it's almost ridiculously simple. You take about 94% ammonium nitrate, those little white pellets. That's your oxidizer. All an oxidizer does is provide the oxygen needed for the big boom. Then you just mix in about 6% fuel oil. That's it. That's your fuel. You put these two super common things together and you get one heck of a powerful reaction.
And what's so crucial here is that ANFO is actually designed to be safe for industrial work. It's what they call highly insensitive. That just means you can't set it off with a match or something simple. You need a really powerful booster to get it to detonate. And that stability, plus the low cost, that's exactly why it's the perfect tool for legit industries like mining and construction.
But this is where the story of the Delhi bombing takes a really sharp, unexpected turn. Because as investigators started tracking where this ANFO came from, they weren't finding what you'd expect, some hardened terror cell. What they found was something way more disturbing.
And before we get to who, just look at the sheer scale of what they found. Almost 3,000 kilograms. Let me put that in perspective. That's nearly 6,400 pounds of explosive material. An absolutely staggering amount. And it was all just hidden in plain sight.
So the people who allegedly stockpiled this massive arsenal, they weren't who you'd think. Not hardened criminals, not career terrorists. They were highly educated, respected professionals, people who took an oath to heal. They were doctors.
Investigators quickly zeroed in on a network they started calling the doctor module. Right at the center was a Dr. Umar Un Nabi, who they believe actually drove the car bomb. Then you have Dr. Muzamil Ahmad Ganaye. He's the one who allegedly rented rooms just to stash that almost 3,000 kilograms of explosives. And the network didn't stop there. It included several of their colleagues, people like Dr. Shaheen Shahid and Dr. Adil Majid Rather. All of them highly trained medical professionals, all connected to the same university hospital.
And you can imagine, the shock wasn't just felt by the public. For their families, it was just incomprehensible. The sister-in-law of the accused driver remembered his last phone call, how he just said he'd be home in a few days. She said, "I can't believe Umar could be involved in such a thing." And that was the feeling everywhere, from neighbors to colleagues, total disbelief.
This revelation is so shocking, it really forces you to zoom out, to look beyond just the who and focus back on the what. Because the weapon they used, ammonium nitrate, it's not inherently evil. It just occupies this really strange, paradoxical space in our modern world. And this slide just lays out that paradox perfectly. On one hand, ammonium nitrate is literally a building block of our civilization. It's in the fertilizer that helps feed billions. It's used to carve out mines and build infrastructure. Heck, it's even the stuff that makes instant cold packs cold. But then you look at the other side, and its history is so dark. It's the key ingredient in IRA car bombs, the Sterling Hall bombing, the Oslo bombing, countless Taliban IEDs. Its destructive side is just undeniable.
And just to put its legitimate use into perspective, check this out.
In the US, the mining industry alone uses about 90% of all explosives every single year. That's millions of pounds. So its main job in the world, overwhelmingly, is to build things up, not to tear them down.
So this essential role in our economy creates a huge dilemma, right? How are you supposed to regulate something that's so vital but also so incredibly dangerous? And this is not a new problem. It's a challenge governments have been wrestling with for a long, long time.
Because look, the danger here isn't just about terrorism. Even when it's not mixed with fuel, if it's just handled improperly, this stuff can be catastrophically explosive all on its own. The history books are filled with industrial disasters that have killed thousands of people.
And this timeline, wow, it shows a whole century of tragedy. We're talking way back in 1921, an explosion in Oppau, Germany, kills over 500 people. Then there's the infamous Texas City disaster in 1947, where a ship just loaded with this stuff blew up and basically leveled parts of the city. And it's not ancient history. We saw its terrifying power again in West Texas in 2013, and of course, the absolutely devastating port explosion in Beirut back in 2020. This is a chemical that has been screaming for our respect and caution for over 100 years.
And this really gets to the core of the problem. Because it's so common as a simple fertilizer, when it's being shipped around, it's often just classified as an oxidizer. That just means it helps other things burn. It's not labeled as a high explosive. And that little loophole, that regulatory gray area, makes it almost impossible to track and secure every single bag.
Which brings us to the final, really tough question. When one single substance can be used to grow the food we eat, and at the same time be used to shatter lives in a heartbeat, how do you even begin to draw the line? How do you secure something that both builds our world and holds the power to tear it all down?